And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's broadcast for tonight's game between the Shenandoah Plainsmen and the Gillen Dutchmen. Tonight is a big matchup with two of the biggest schools in Section 2. Currently, we have the Gillen Dutchmen lineup coming at you right now. Gillen Dutchmen having a rough start with a 1-3 start going up against Shenandoah, one of the top teams in Section 2 at 4-1. It is going to be one heck of a battle. And so we just see the starters coming out. We have number 1, Matthew Bender, number 2, Daniel Albright. Both of these guys are seniors on the team, and as we mentioned before, a lot of seniors on the team. 7 of the 11 players, including number 3, Brendan Hoffman, are seniors this year. So next season is going to be a big decision, and it's going to be a lot tougher with a lot more underclassmen. And so we see number 14, Quinn Ryan, who surprisingly has not had any field goals so far this season. He was one of the key players last year, but it's good to see him back in the starting lineup. And we have Grant Mengel to start it off, who has been the key player for the Dutchman. And we are back after the performance by the Gillen High School Chamber Choir of the National Anthem. And so tonight are the keys to the game for the Gillen Dutchmen. Number 1 is contain the top scorers Hulbert and Merchant. Don't let them combine for a big game. Abbas Merchant is the lead scorer on the team for the Plainsmen with 85 points. He's been scoring 75% from the free throw line and has hit 11 threes on the season. Also, Chris Hulbert, who's the second lead scorer, he's been leading the team with 15 threes, so both of them are dangerous from the outside, and it is going to be very difficult to contain them. That's why there's big focus. And so they don't want to let anybody have a big night for Shen, and they want to shoot the ball better. But those are the keys to the game, and we are underway. Picked up by Hoffman and handed off to Bender. Bender back to Hoffman. Hoffman gets down in the corner to Mengel and back to Hoffman. Bender up top. Trying to work it around. Gets it inside to Mengel. Mengel to Ortel. Ortel all the way back out to Hoffman. Bender for 3, and he just misses it. Picked up by Mengel. He can't put it back, but he is fouled on the play. Looks like he is fouled on number 3, Abbas Merchant. That is his first of the game, and already 28 seconds in, that's going to be a problem for him. He is the leading scorer, so it's going to be important. And for the Dutchman, it's going to be important for him to get out early. And so, as we mentioned before, Grant Mengel, the leading scorer on the team with 74 points on the season. However, his free throw percentage hasn't been up to par. Luckily, he was able to sink those 2, but prior to this game, he's been 5 for 14 from the line on the season. So we'll hope that he continues to improve on the free throw shooting later this season. Merchant brings it up. Hands it off to number 25, Jake DeZekis. Back to Merchant. Merchant on the outside. And a big hit, and 3 just missed, and a little hot potato action, but picked up by number 12, TJ Sangare for the basket. It is tied up. Albright hands it back to Hoffman. Hoffman brings it up the court. Hoffman setting it up for the Dutchman. Hands it off to number 1, Matt Bender. Back to Hoffman. Hoffman to Albright. Gets it back to Hoffman. Hoffman works it around, gets it to Bender. Bender looks to the corner for Albright. Bender up top for another 3, and this time he sinks it. Another nice basket by number 1, Matt Bender. And the Gildan Dutchmen go up 5-2. Shen brings up the ball by number 5, Chris Hulbert. Hulbert drives in and just misses the layup. Hoffman with the ball. Brings it up the court. Looks like Shen's putting on the press. Albright gets it across half court. Mengel in the corner, double team, trying to get it out of there. Gets it back to Bender. And a long miss by Brandon Hoffman, and it'll go back to Shen. Merchant brings it up for Shen. Merchant slowly bringing it up past midcourt, guarded by Brandon Hoffman. Merchant goes around. Gets it back out to number 25, Jake DeZekis. And another basket for Shen as they take the lead. Bender up top, gets it back to Hoffman. Bender on the outside. Hoffman drives in. Looks for the jumper. Just misses the jumper and just missed by Ortel. And he gives it back to Shen, number 25, Jake DeZekis. Merchant trapped in the corner, knocked out of bounds by Hoffman. It remains Shen ball. Merchant up top. Trying to look inside, guarded by Hoffman. Gets it to the outside. Gets it to Hulbert, who pulls up but doesn't quite get it. Merchant misses, and foul on the play. TJ Sangare tries to put it up and is fouled on the play. It'll be Gillen's first, and it is foul on number 1, Matt Bender. That is his first. And with 4:41 remaining, Shen up 6-5 as number 12, TJ Sangare, goes to the line. Sangare sinks his first. Shen has always been a really dominant team, and their legacy has lived on, including one of their former graduates, Kevin Herter, who is now one of the starters at the University of Maryland, possibly in the next few years could go pro. So one of the many players who's had success here at Shen, and they're continuing to build a great team here. And so Shen puts on the press. Passes back and forth between Albright and Hoffman. And Danny Albright is fouled as he's going up the court. And the foul is again on number 3, Abbas Merchant. That is his second, already halfway through the first quarter. So it looks like it's working for the Dutchman, as Merchant is getting closer into foul trouble. Albright gets it to the corner to Ortel. Back to Hoffman. Hoffman works it around, gets it to Bender. Bender up top. Goes across to Albright for 3, can't quite get it. Knocked back by Mengel, but goes right back to Shen. They are on the fast break. Hulbert, long pass to Merchant. And 3-pointer by Greg Monroe, but can't quite get it. Picked up by Ortel, and Hoffman brings it up the court. Hoffman to Bender. Bender back to Hoffman. Hoffman back out to Bender. Hoffman up top. Continuing passes back to Bender. He's guarded by Merchant. Works it back to Hoffman. To Mangle for the jump shot. Can't quite get it. Picked up by Monroe. Back to Merchant. And Merchant brings it up the court. And a nice pass to Monroe, but he can't finish it, and picked up by Albright. Albright gets it to Hoffman, and he brings it up the court. Hoffman gets it to Bender. Bender at the top of the key, gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman with the fake, gets it back to Bender, and into Albright in the corner. Ortel double teamed. Albright drives in, gets it to Ortel, and he gets fouled on the play, and he will go to the line to shoot two. Foul is on number 10, Greg Monroe. That is his first, team's third. Nortel will be going to the line to shoot two. One of the interesting things about the Dutchmen is that they only focus on a handful of guys. And so we have a sub in for Shen at number 32, Jake Reinisch. And it looks like Ryan Teaney will be going in for the Dutchman, in for Ortel. But mentioned before, Galen Dutchman focuses on a handful of guys. Usually 6 players alternate in. But with a team of 11 guys, it's definitely important to get about everyone in. But we'll have to see how it pans out for the Dutchman later in the season. So Ortel makes one of them, and Shen brings it up the court. So we have a foul on the play as Shen tries to drive. Foul is on number 1, Matthew Bender. That is his second too, so he's very close to getting into foul trouble. And so fouls are going to be really important later in the game, and sometimes those games that are so close come down to the foul shots. Sangare gets it into Hulbert. Hulbert drives in. No foul on the play, and is back to the Dutchman. And it looks like Ortel is being subbed back in for Bender. And Albright will be taking it up. Albright gets it back to Hoffman, and he'll bring it up for the Dutchman. Hoffman on the outside to Albright. Albright back to Hoffman, works it to Teaney, and back to Hoffman. Hoffman with a cross-court pass to Mengel, gets it back to Teaney. Albright for 3, and he sinks it. A 3-pointer by number 2, Daniel Albright. He has been a fantastic 3-point shooter for the Dutchman this year. He leads the team prior to this game with 9 threes. So 27 of his 35 points were off of threes. Basket made by Shen's number 55, and it is back to the Dutchman. Gets down the corner to Ortel. Mangle gets it back to Hoffman. Hoffman looking in, gets it back to Albright. Hoffman with the fake, gets it to Ortel. He's on the ground, and there's a loose ball, but is picked up by number 10, Greg Monroe, and is back to Shen. Hulbert brings it up. And a nice move by Sangare. Can't quite get it. Picked up by Monroe, and he puts it back for Shen. And they lead 12-9 as Gilliland takes a timeout. So one of the interesting things is, as we mentioned before, there were 6 main guys that have been playing for the Dutchman. And we have Bender, Albright, Hoffman. Then we have Ryan Teaney, Grant Mengel, and Ben Ortel. Those are the 6 main guys. And on an 11-man roster, as I said before, it's really good to try and get more people involved. And so one of the interesting things is Ryan Teaney, the only sophomore on the team, has been getting a significant amount of minutes. Ryan Teaney has been doing a great job, had done a great job on the JV team, and Mike Parks was really interested and brought him up to the varsity level and has done very well. What's interesting is that all three juniors, Kyle Glenn, Chad Buckley, and Brandon Caulfield, have recorded no field goals on the season. And so missed shot by Teaney, and it's back to Shen. Hulbert brings it up. Gets it to the outside. Back to Hulbert. Hulbert comes around the pick, goes into the paint, and makes a nice, easy jump shot. Shen is up 14-9. With less than a minute to go, Hoffman brings it up the court. Hoffman to Albright. Mangle to Hoffman, gets it to Teaney. Ortel. Back to Hoffman and Albright. Albright to Mangle for three. Can't quite get it. Picked up by Hulbert, and there is a foul on the play. And the foul is on number 3, Brandon Hoffman. That is his first of the game. Hulbert brings it up for Shen. With less than 30 seconds, they are looking for their final shot of the quarter. Hulbert guarded by Hoffman. The gym is dead silent as they are waiting the final shot. Gets it back to Hulbert. Hulbert drives on Hoffman, gets it to Monroe. Monroe drives into the paint, and they call Ortel on a charge, and Monroe looks like will be going to the line to shoot 2. As we saw, looked like Ortel was set up nice, but must have just hesitated. And with 2.8 seconds left, he's charged with his first foul. Monroe goes to the line. And Monroe with his first, as there is a substitution for the last play. Looks like number 33, Jason Canterbury, comes in to make one last defensive stop. And he sinks the second, taking Shen up 15-9. And with the last shot, Hoffman can't quite get it, and that ends the first quarter. Shenandoah Plainsmen up 15-9 on the Gittleton Dutchman. And so, probably one of the toughest things going up against the Shenandoah Plainsmen. They're probably one of the toughest teams in Section 2, and they have been for so long. One of the things with the Dutchmen is that they've had a lack of height over the past couple years. And so many of their tallest guys have been 6'3", 6'4", while going up against Shenandoah Plainsmen, they have much bigger guards and much bigger centers and people who can really make a lot of points in the paint. And so with the height disadvantage for the Dutchmen, it's going to be a lot tougher to score in the paint. And that has affected them so far this season as they're 1-3 on the year. A bit of a rough start. And they're trying to recover from last year as they finished below 500 for the year last year, which was the first time in quite a long time for the history of the Dutchmen. And so right now they're trying to get back on track. It's going to be tough against Shen, but they still have a shot as it is very early in the game. And so we are about to begin the second quarter. Shen up 15-9 on the Dutchman, and Hulbert brings it up for Shen. Gilliland in a 2-3 zone against Shen as a cross-court pass to Hulbert is an air ball. Can't quite get it, but still picked up by number 25, Jake DeZekis. And great hustle by number 2, Dan Albright, knocks it out of bounds, remains Shen ball. Hulbert brings it up, gets it to DeZekis. Ryanish to DeZekis. DeZekis with the fake and a long pass to Hulbert. Hulbert again, a long pass to DeZekis, but does not pull up. And a long three by number 32, Jake Ryanish, misses and is picked up by Hoffman. Hoffman hurries it up the court, gets it to Mengel. Mengel with the shot, and he gets it. Another nice basket by number 23, Grant Mengel. And he's going to be the guy. He's the tallest man on the team for the Dutchman, so it's going to be important to get him open looks. Back to Shen. Canterbury on the outside. Gets it to number 25, Jake DeZekis. And it is stolen as Grant Mengel brings it up the court. Gets it back to Albright. Albright to Bender. Bender has it, knocked it away. And Ryanish up the court. And a spin move. But misses the easy layup and is picked up by Albright. Albright hurries it up the court. Mengel to Hoffman. Hoffman to Bender. Bender on the outside. Gets it back to Hoffman. Hoffman looks around for the open man. Gets it back to Bender. Bender with the shot. Just misses it. And with a fight for the ball between Ben Ortel and number 32, Jake Reinish. Jump ball remains Gillen ball. So it's really good to see. It seemed like in the first quarter, Gillen did not have a lot of energy. They were getting some shots, but they did not have a lot of energy bringing up the court. Now they're getting some steals and trying to get advantage of different possessions. Ortel with the ball, but it is stolen by Monroe. Back to Hulbert, and it is hurried up the court by Abbas Merchant. And it tipped off by Gillen remains Shen ball. Number 12, TJ Sangare will be taking it out underneath for the Plainsmen. And almost a 5-second violation, but is able to get it out to number 3. Abbas Merchant gets it to the corner. Back to Merchant. Merchant for 3, and he hits a big shot. And as we mentioned before, leading scorer on the team has had 11 threes on the season. So one of the keys to the game was to contain him, and the Dutchmen do not want to let him get on a scoring streak as he had before. Hoffman up top, gets it to Bender in the corner, goes along the baseline to Ortel. A nice move, but can't quite get it. And with a nice rebound by Ortel, puts it back for the Dutchmen, and they cut the lead, or the deficit, I should say, to 5. Hulbert to Merchant. Merchant around. Gets it back to number 33, Jake Reinish. And a 3-point look by Sangare. Doesn't get it, and a foul is called on Shen. Looked like it was on number 33, Jason Canterbury. That is his first. It looks like Hoffman will be taking out underneath. Albright back to Hoffman. Hoffman brings it back to Albright. Ortel with a long pass to Hoffman. He dribbles it around, gets it back to Bender. Bender to Albright. Teaney back to Albright. Hoffman trying to get into the paint, back to Bender. He looks around, gets it back to Albright. Less than 10 seconds on the shot clock. Bender goes up, falls down, but no foul called. Merchant hurries it up the court, and a crazy pass to Hulbert, but he sinks the 3. And now Shen leads by 8 with less than 5 remaining in the second quarter. Hoffman to Bender. Bender guarded by Merchant. Hoffman dribbles it around, trying to find the open man. Gets it to Teaney, back to Hoffman. Albright tries to dribble to the corner. And it looks like there's a foul on the play. It is on Abbas Merchant. And that is his 3rd of the game already. Still not halftime, so he is in some serious trouble. And it looks like number 32, Jake Reinish, subs in for the Plainsmen. And he'll be taking out Merchant, who has been in some serious foul trouble. Teaney to Albright to Hoffman. Hoffman back to Albright. Albright with the fake drives in. Albright being worked by Sangare. Gets it to Teaney. Can't quite make the shot. And is picked up by number 12, TJ Sangare. And Hulbert brings it up the court. Hulbert guarded by Hoffman. Gets it to Sangare. And a nice pass to number 10, Greg Monroe for the basket. And now Shen takes the lead to 10. Hoffman brings it up the court. Albright back to Hoffman. He looks inside. Gets it to Teaney. Whacked on the head, but nothing called. Last touch by Greg Monroe, and it remains a Gilderland ball. And looks like number 1, Matthew Bender, subs back in for number 2, Dan Albright, as Gillen takes it out underneath. Bender underneath, looking for the open man, gets it to Mengel. Hoffman gets it to Bender, guarded well by number 10, Greg Monroe. Bender back to Ortel. Ortel trying to make a move, gets it back to Hoffman. In and out, and is picked up by Shen. Hulbert brings it back up the court. And it looks like Shenandoah Hoek calls a timeout with 2:57 remaining in the second quarter. So one of the things that the Plainsmen are really good at, they're really good at having big games, sometimes with one player, sometimes with more than one player. Hulbert and Merchant have been guys who've been leading their team in terms of three-point percentage, in terms of scoring. But there's also a lot of people that they still have to worry about. They still have to worry about Greg Monroe, who's been pretty key in this game. There's a lot of people who can cause a lot of danger. It's not just one person. And so the Dutchmen have been able to do that too, but right now, when they're only having a rotation of 6 guys, usually only very few people are able to create that danger to another team that could go on a serious run, while Shen has been able to do it from just about anybody. And back out to Shen. They try to get into Monroe. Nice defense by number 22, Ryan Teaney. Knocks it out. It remains Shen ball. And Hulbert goes baseline to number 55. Just misses the shot. Hoffman brings it up the court. Hoffman guarded by number 32, Jake Reinish. Hoffman from Bender. Back to Bender. Bender for 3, and he hits it. Another nice shot by number 1, Matthew Bender. Hulbert in the corner. Gets it to Sangare. Sangare gets it back out. Monroe in the corner. Guarded well by number 22, Ryan Teaney. Back to Hulbert. Hulbert drives in on Hoffman with the jump shot. Can't quite get it. Picked up by Mengel, and Hoffman back up the court. Under 2 minutes remaining as Shen leads 23-16. Hoffman to Bender. Bender looking for the open man. Almost picked off by Hulbert as Hoffman with a long pass to Teaney. He can't quite get it either. He's knocked to the ground. No foul called. And back comes Shen. And a long 3 by number 5. Chris Hulbert can't quite get it. Goes out of bounds and back to Guilderland. And it looks like number 35, Lucas Siam, comes in for the Plainsmen. Plainsmen creating a great press, but it is broken by number 22, Ryan Teaney. Ortel back to Hoffman. Hoffman to Bender. Bender looks inside, trying to find the open man. Back to Hoffman, gets it to Mengel. Mengel with the jump shot, can't quite get it, and it is picked up by Shen. Sangare brings it up the court for the Plainsmen. And it is picked off by number 3, Brendan Hoffman, with some nice moves, bringing it up the court, back out to Bender, and can't quite hit that 3. Picked up by Sangare, and he goes full blaze down the court. Gets it in the corner, back out to number 5, Hulbert, and back to Monroe. Monroe up top with less than 30 seconds. Back to Sangare, guarded by Hoffman. Gets into Monroe. Monroe to Hulbert. Hulbert up top to Sangare, guarded by Bender. And with a nice move, creates the offensive foul, and it is back to the Dutchman. So Sangare, that'll be his first. And currently team 6th, again with about 15 seconds left. Looks like Shen won't be in foul trouble, but it's really good to get the fouls up so possibly later in the game you could get some foul shots that can make a real difference. Less than 5 seconds. Teaney drives in, goes up, clean block, and that ends the second quarter. Shen currently up 23-16, and it looks like the Gillen Dutchman brought some more energy to this second quarter, and so we're going to really see how they're going to do in the second half. But right now they're down by 7 and need to come back. And so that ends the first half. I am Jason Sidoni, and we will be back for your coverage of the second half. And welcome back to the second half coverage of tonight's game between the Shenandoah Plainsmen and the Gillen Dutchman. So far in the first half, Shen was in ahead of the Dutchman 23-16, and with a lot of help from people like number 3, Abbas Merchant, number 10, Greg Monroe, and also we had a bit of a miscommunication, but number 55, James Altenberger, was one of the big differences in the first half for Shen. And so going down by 7, trying to make a comeback against the Shen team as we see a 3 knocked down by number 5, Chris Hulbert, taking the lead back up to 10. And so as we mentioned, the keys to the game are to contain the top scorers, Hulbert and Merchant. And so both of them have been doing predominantly well, but Abbas Merchant, number 3 for Shen, has gotten into some foul troubles. Already 3 fouls in the first half, so getting him into foul trouble will be important for the Dutchman. And with some nice balance by Hoffman, able to get out of the way of Hulbert, gets it back to number 1, Matt Bender. Hoffman comes around, gets it to Bender. Bender to Mengel. Mengel from deep, and he gets it off right before the buzzer. And another nice jump shot by Grant Mengel. And as we mentioned before, the team's lead scorer, it's going to be really important to get him some more open looks because he's been deadly from in the paint and out. A miss by number 12, TJ Sangare, and up the court goes Gillen, and Bender is fouled. Looks like number 12, TJ Sangare, for the first foul of the second half. And so it is again on Sangare, his second of the game. Bender will be going to the line to shoot 2. And so one of the really great things about Bender, he's a tough guy. He's really good defensively, offensively, and a great foul shooter. He did miss his first, but prior to this game, he's been 11 for 13 on the year. So we're going to need as many free throws from him as we could get. Merchant brings it up for Shen. Merchant goes around, gets it to Sangare. Sangare tries to drive on Mengel. Sangare goes in, pass to Merchant. Merchant drives in but goes back out, guarded well by number 2, Dan Albright. Hulbert to Sangare. Sangare to Merchant. It looks like there's another foul on the play. Fouls on number 25, Jake DeZekis. That's his first. And he turns it over and is back to the Dutchman. And so Albright will be taking it up back to Hoffman. And it looks like the Plainsmen still putting on a tough press as the Dutchmen bring it up the court. Albright to Hoffman. Hoffman back to Albright. The long pass to Mengel in the corner, but back to Hoffman. Albright looking for the open man. Gets it in the corner to Mengel. Back to Albright. Gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman to Albright. He drives in all the way, but blocked by Altenberger. And number 25, Jake DeSikas, brings it up for Shen. And an easy layup missed by number 12, TJ Sangare, and is back to the Dutchman. Bender to Hoffman. Hoffman bobbing and weaving. Gets it to Ortel, and a nice basket by number 24, Ben Ortel. Altenberger back to Merchant. Merchant gets it to Altenberger, and he brings it too low. And Altenberger causes the foul on Bender. So one of the things, Altenberger is the big man for Shen, and what's really important to do is to not bring it low for everyone else to grab it. Height is a really big factor when it comes to a sport like basketball, so he's got to use it as much as possible. Hoffman to Albright, back to Hoffman. Albright brings it up, gets it to Bender. Hoffman on the outside, looking for the open man. Gets it back to Albright, back to Hoffman. Mengel in the corner, being guarded well by Hulbert. Gets it back to Hoffman. Cannot quite dribble in between the zone. Gets it back to Bender, and a crazy pass. Throws it out of bounds. And one of the things is, the Dutchmen have been really good with moving the ball around, practically getting it to every player on the court, every possession. That's going to be important, but it's not going to be worth it if it's thrown away like that. So it's really good that they're passing, but they want to pass with a purpose, so it's much easier to get an open look. Hulbert brings it up the court for Shen, gets it to Monroe. Altenberger up top, guarded by Ortel. Monroe underneath the basket, and is fouled on the play. Looks like he'll be going to the line to shoot two. And he's fouled by number 2, Dan Albright. That's his first of the game, team's first. And so, Shen making it tough. Gillen only down by 6 with a lot of time left in the second half. And so, as we mentioned before, Altenberger has been tough because he is the tallest man on the Shen team. And with our lack of height, it's very difficult for the Dutchman to guard him specifically, and it's harder to stop them defensively. And so it's going to be really important for them to move the ball around and work better on the jump shots. Hoffman to Albright. Albright up top, gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman works it into Mengel, back to Albright. Albright for 3, can't quite get it. Picked up by Altenberger, and a fight for the ball. Looks like he is fouled by number 1, Matt Bender. That's his third of the game, so he has to watch out as well. Both Matt Bender and Abbas Merchant have 3 fouls on them, and so later in the game, it's going to really be important that they don't foul out, specifically because they are 2 leaders. A leader for Gillen and a leader for Shen, so it's going to be important that they stay in the game as long as possible. Hulbert on Hoffman tries to bring it up. Merchant guarded by Bender. And with a nice move, gets around Bender and puts in the basket. And so again, Shen with the press. Able to get it over half court, gets it to Albright. Albright in the corner to Teaney. Teaney to Albright, gets it back to Hoffman. Hoffman to Albright. Albright drives in, gets it to Teaney. Albright on the outside, guarded by Merchant, and a nice pass to number 23, Grant Mengel, and he puts it in for the Dutchman. It's going to be those plays right there that are going to help get the Dutchman the lead. Merchant up top, gets it back to Hulbert. Hulbert drives into the paint, goes up hard, and is fouled by number 23, Grant Mengel, on the play. And so another really big factor, as we mentioned the fouls, but it's also creating them. As we saw number 5, Chris Hulbert, he was going hard to the basket and it threw Grant Mengel off, causing him to foul. And so for the Dutchmen, they have to do a lot more too. Currently, as we saw in the first half, the Dutchmen have been passing it around the arc. They've been passing and not driving as much. And so driving in is basically the best way to create fouls. And fouls is the way to get to the line and get free shots. Albright back to Hoffman. Albright gets to Bender. Back to Hoffman. Hoffman looking for a play as he comes up the court. Guarded by Hulbert, back to Albright. Albright on the outside, gets it to Hoffman. Trying to break the zone by the Plainsman. They get it into Ortel, and it is ripped out of his hands by Altenberger and brought up by Merchant. Loses the ball, and it is back to Gilderland. It looks like Merchant was trying to argue the call that he didn't touch it, but again, last touch by him goes back to the Dutchman. 2:28 remaining in the third quarter. Shen up 31-22 as Mengel gets it back to Hoffman, and he's at the top of the key. Back to Albright, back to Hoffman. Hoffman with the fake, guarded by Monroe, gets it back to Albright. Mengel with the turnaround jumper, can't quite get it, picked up by Merchant, and he hurries it up the court. Hulbert up top, back to Merchant. Puts on some moves, gets it to number 2 Joshua Nails, and back to Hulbert. Hulbert with the very tough jump shot, can't quite get it. Picked up again by Hulbert, and he puts it back. It looks like Hoffman got nailed right in the face. A very physical play, and a lot of bodies flying on that last play. And sometimes that's the energy that you need, but you do have to be careful. And as we mentioned before, the Gillen Dutchman has rotated 6 guys. They do have a lot of guys at the bench, but many of the players that aren't in that 6-man rotation have very, very little experience. So it's going to be important to keep the main guys in. Hoffman, Teaney, back to Bender as Bender brings it up midcourt. Gets it to Hoffman. The Plainsman continuing to increase the pressure on the Dutchman. Bender up top. Gets it to Ortel. Bender looking in, gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman in the corner to Teaney. He can't hit the 3, picked up again by Merchant, and he brings it up the court. And Merchant with a quick jumper is able to put it in. That's something you can do. As we mentioned before, Merchant, the lead scorer for Shenandoah Plainsman, you can't just let him get an easy jump shot like that. You have to put at least some defensive effort into stopping something like that. Now Shen takes a 13 lead, up 35-22 with a minute left in the third. Bender to Hoffman. Hoffman for 3. He can't hit it either. Picked up by number 2, Joshua Nails. Back up to Hulbert, and he brings it up the court. Hulbert up top, guarded by Teaney. Gets it to the corner. Greg Monroe. On the wing, Hulbert, guarded by Teaney. Number 3, Merchant goes up, can't quite get it. Joshua Nails can't quite get it with the tap-in, and is back to the Dutchman. Ryan Teaney goes up, and a nice fast break layup as the Dutchmen are trying to claw back with less than a minute left in the third. And it's going to be those passes and those opportunities like that. Currently, the 3-ball isn't working for the Dutchmen, and they have to try their best to get the easiest shots possible. Less than 10 seconds. Merchant with some fancy work, can't quite get it. Hoffman heaves it from way beyond half court, can't quite get it, and that ends the third quarter. Shen currently up 35-24 on the Dutchman. They lead by 11, and we will be heading to the fourth quarter. And so as we mentioned before, the Gillen Dutchmen have been doing a great job passing, but it really hasn't gotten them anywhere. You want to have purpose in your passing, because when you're just passing it around for no reason, it's just a waste of time. It's kind of like you're just waiting for something to just happen. Both Bender and Albright have had some success behind the arc, but it has not been enough to take the lead against the Plainsmen. And so, in terms like this, it's really important to play defense on the three-point shooters for Shen, because as we've seen, Chris Hulbert and Merchant have done a great job at hitting shots from behind the arc. And as we've seen in these replays, like Grant Mengel in the paint, as well as Ortel, as well as Teaney, as we see right here, Ryan Teaney with a nice play. Those are the shots that Gillen needs. It doesn't have to be the complicated shots or the much more difficult shots. It's going to be about making it easier, because right now, being down by 11, they don't want to make it more difficult for themselves than it already is. Teaney to Hoffman. Hoffman looking for the open man. Gets it back to Bender. Bender to Hoffman. Hoffman heaves up a three, and he can't quite get it picked up by Merchant, and he brings out the court. Merchant guarded by Bender, and a nice play by Ortel, is able to steal the ball, and back to Hoffman. And a little miscommunication, and off the chest of Ortel, Teaney tries to get a pass and is picked up by Hulbert. Hulbert to Monroe. Monroe goes to the paint. And another little bounce back. And it looks like Shen calls a timeout. And so again, this late in the game, you're down by a lot, but you should still be playing really hard. And it seemed like there was some miscommunication there. And so, communication, it might not be a physical part of the game, but as a mental part, it is incredibly important. You want to make sure that your players are on key. Currently, they've been doing a really great job in terms of passing around, but on that last play, very poor communication by the Dutchman, and that caused them to end up turning it over. Hulbert up top. Gets it to Sangare. He can't quite get it. And it knocked out of bounds back to the Dutchman. And so one of the other interesting things that's really concerning for the Plainsmen is that Merchant, Abbas Merchant for Shen, has been getting a lot of rebounds. And if you have a guy who's a really good scorer and a really good rebounder, he's a double threat. And it looks like there is a foul on number 1, Matt Bender. That's his 4th. So again, in the danger zone, with about 7 minutes left, he has to be careful. It looks like he's being subbed in. Number 22, Ryan Teaney, subs out Bender, who's been having a bit of a tough night. He has been doing well behind the arc, but the fouls have been really degrading him in his performance here tonight. Sangare up top gets it to Hulbert. Hulbert guarded by Albright. And with a quick pass into Monroe, puts it up for Shen. They now lead by 13, 37-24. Albright to Hoffman. Hoffman trapped, ended up getting it to Teaney. Teaney with a nice pass to Ortel, and he puts it in a very nice fast break possession by the Dutchman. And another 3-ball by Merchant, can't quite get it, but knocked back out to Hulbert. Picked up by Albright, and he gets the ball, brings it up the court. Hoffman to Albright. Albright to the corner, back out to Albright. Albright to Hoffman. Hoffman to Albright. Albright drives in. Teaney can't quite get down the baseline. Albright to Hoffman. Hoffman to Mengel from deep, and he literally gets nothing but net. It looks like it was tipped on that shot. But a nice steal as Hoffman brings it up the court. Hoffman fouled on the play by number 5, Chris Hulbert, and he will go to the line to shoot 2. So, what's been good for the Dutch, but they've been having a few rough possessions, but they have been able to make it up. They've made some nice steals, and have gotten some better opportunities. Chris Hulbert was the one on the foul. That is his first, team's fourth. Hoffman sinks the first. And he sinks his second. That reduces it to a single-digit deficit currently as Merchant brings it up. Merchant up top, guarded by Hoffman. Gets it to Monroe in the paint. Monroe, triple team, gets it back to Merchant. Gets it to Sangare for three. Does not get it. Teaney loses the ball and is triple teamed and is fouled on the play. And it is a foul on number 10, Greg Monroe. That is his second and team's fifth. So with about 5 minutes left, the bonus is calling out to both teams. Whoever is able to get that bonus could be the difference in the game. Hoffman double teamed. Ends up getting a pass mid-court to Teaney and is tipped by Shen. Gets it back to Merchant, and Merchant brings it back up the court. And what's pretty interesting, this is a very, very low-scoring game. Already in the fourth quarter, 37-28. And so, it's been going very well defensively for both teams, but the offense really has to kick in gear. And definitely surprising compared to some of the leading scorers of the team for both teams. And so it gets stolen by Hoffman. Hoffman Albright from deep, and he can't quite get it. And gets it back to number 5, Chris Hulbert, and he brings it back up for Shen. Hulbert slowing it down, trying to waste as much time as possible as they have the lead. Under 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Monroe up top, guarded by Ortel. Gets it back to Hulbert. Hulbert guarded by Hoffman with a nice move, able to get past him. And that takes the lead to 11. And the Shenandoah Plainsmen take a full timeout. And so again, it seems like the Dutchmen need to pick up their energy. They've been doing a fantastic job and have had a few possessions in the second half where they've been really picking up the energy. But these past few possessions, because Shed has been slowing it down, that means that they've been losing their energy as well. And you can't let someone start slowing things down and deter you from what you want to do. Down by 11 points with 4 minutes to go, Gillen needs to get on a really great run right here. And what we've seen a lot of great possessions with passes to Grant Mengel. Seen a lot of great plays with Teaney, with Bender. And they've been driving it in. As we've seen before, we've seen a lot of air balls on threes from Albright, from Hoffman, and it has not been pleasant. So it's one of those things where you got to switch and make your game work for you to get back in it. Again, the press by Shen as Gillen brings it up the court. Albright, guarded by Sangare, gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman gets it past half court, gets into the corner. Teaney goes in, and another nice job as he drives into the paint and is fouled and will go to the line to shoot 2. Looks like it will be on Greg Monroe, and that's his third. Already team 6, so one more, and they will be going to 1-1. So as we mentioned before, the bonus is going to be huge for either team. So it looks like number 24, Ben Ortel, moves in, and Bender is subbed out. And TD sinks his second free throw as Gillen takes timeout. And so that was a really nice play by Ryan Teaney. Great passing by Hoffman. And it was one of the things that the Dutchmen seem to be missing throughout the game. They've been staying behind the arc, as we mentioned before, for most of the game, trying to shoot the three ball. And sometimes a lot of teams, especially Gilderland, they live or die by the three. If it's working, then it's really good for them. But right now, it's not. They're down by 10 in a very, very low-scoring game. The Dutchmen have the potential to make a lot of points, but sometimes it's best to have a variety, not just shoot the three, but drive in, work the ball. And so they continue to do a good job with passing, but they have to continue to work to find some better open looks. Down by 10, that's going to be important as Shen takes it out underneath. TJ Sangare gets it to Merchant, and so Gillen starts to put on the press. Shen gets it up past midcourt. Hulbert on the wing brings it back out to the top. Hulbert guarded by Hoffman. Gets it to Merchant. Merchant to Sangare. Sangare looking for the open man. Gets it to Hulbert. Merchant brings it up. Less than 10 seconds on the shot clock. Merchant on Albright. Merchant drives in and is fouled by number 2, Dan Albright. So that's the team's 5th. So they did have a foul to give. Well, they still have a couple fouls to give as Albright, that's his 2nd on the game, and Shen takes it out underneath. Sangare looking for the open man. Gets into Monroe. Back to Merchant, and the shot clock is reset. Shen again slowing it down, trying to waste as much time as possible. Merchant guarded by Hoffman. Merchant looking, trying to find the open shot. Is forced as far back as the hash mark as he works in. Monroe on the wing, guarded by Teaney. With a nice pass to number 5, Hulbert, and he makes an easy layup, and Shen goes up by 12. Hoffman with the ball. Gets it to Albright. Albright gets it to Hoffman. Hoffman tries to drive in, is trapped. And a foul on the play. Looks like it'll be on number 32, Jake Reinish. That's his first, team 7. So Hoffman will be going to the line to shoot 1 and 1. And so Hoffman sinks his first. And so another really important thing is that not a lot of these guys have been to the foul line. Prior to this game, Brendan Hoffman was 2 for 4 for the line, and as he sinks his 2nd. And so that's going to be really important too. Getting to the line for free shots, I've said it so many times, and so many other people have too. It's really important because those are free shots, and those can make all the difference in the game. And so Matt Bender, who, as we mentioned before, has been the best free throw shooter on the Dutchman prior to this game, 11 for 13. And so only 2 players on the Dutchman have had over 10 free throw attempts. And so compared to a team, well, it seems like the players aren't that much different. They have 3 players, but they still have a lot of more people getting to the line. And so as the time ticks down, it's going to be really important to get to the line and do plays like this, as we mentioned before. Ryan Teaney's play, driving into the paint. It's really important in practically any stage of the game. And so, being that the tallest man on the Gillen team is 6'3", driving into the paint has become a much more difficult task. 2:08 remaining in the 4th quarter as Shen takes it underneath. Gillen with the press. Sangare, the long pass to number 10, Greg Monroe. Monroe gets it back to Sangare up top. And so Gillen's starting to cause some more conflict, creating some more tension in their defense. And it is a foul on number 3, Brendan Hoffman. That's his second, team sixth. And so one more foul, and they will be in the bonus as well. But it's really good to see some more tenacious defense from the Dutchman. So 1:53 remaining. That is a foul on number 2, Dan Albright. That's his third. And so now in the bonus, as you mentioned before, it is going to be coming down to how they make their foul shots. And so the more tenacious defense has been causing them to create fouls. That's what they're aiming for. To see who can make them and who can miss them. Albright pushes it up the court. Bender on the wing, gets to the corner to Mengel. Mengel drives in. Bit of a tough shot, and is picked up by Merchant. Merchant brings it up the court, but is fouled by number 3, Brendan Hoffman. That's his third, and he'll be going to the line to shoot 1 and 1. And so Merchant, as we said, the leading scorer. It's definitely good to get him to. Well, it depends on your situation, but Merchant has been 12 for 16 from the line this season as he sinks his first. So you definitely want to go for the guys who had struggle at the line. And he sinks his second as Shen has the lead back up to 12, leading 43 to 31. Hoffman gets it passed up midcourt, dribbles through multiple defenders as he's fouled on the play. Sangare, that's his third foul, as they have 18 fouls, still remains 1 and 1, and Hoffman goes to the line. Hoffman sinks his first as there is a sub. Ben Ortel comes in for Matt Bender. And he sinks his second. Galen again calls a timeout with 1:30 remaining in the fourth quarter. And so already, as we mentioned before, the Dutchmen have been in a bit of a rough start for the season. 1 and 3 on the season. And so one of the difficult things, as we mentioned before, they don't have height. And so improving on the shooting is necessary. And they have to do. I mean, you do wonder what is going to happen for the rest of their season. Because against some really competitive Section 2 teams, it's going to be really difficult to scratch out some wins. I definitely think that it should be better if they try more than a 6-man roster. And so we have a lot of talent sitting on the bench. I mean, there's no Quinn Ryan, and as we mentioned before, he was a really big factor for the Dutchman last year. He was a fantastic shooter, fantastic dribbler, and so to be without him, it's very tough. A minute 30 left in the fourth quarter. Shen takes it out underneath. Merchant fouled, and he will go to the line again. And so Albright, that's his fourth. And so Bender comes back in for the Dutchman. Both Matt Bender and Dan Albright have 4 fouls currently. And so at this stage of the game, they have a great potential of fouling out. And so with a tough 11-point lead, it might be better to save them for next game. But in terms of foul management. You're talking about 2 of your 6-man rotation in trouble. So that's definitely something you want to prevent later on. Albright heaves up a 3, and he sinks it. Another nice shot by Albright, and it's really good to see him come alive a little bit and spark some life. And as timeout is called by the Shenandoah Plainsmen. And it stings that some of those shots weren't falling previously in the game, but now they have an opportunity. And so it only takes a few really great possessions to get them back in this game. And with just over a minute left to go in the game, there's a lot of possibilities to do some great things. And so during this game, there's been, especially in the fourth quarter, a lot of timeouts. Shen trying to slow it down. And right now, the Dutchmen are putting a lot of pressure on them, causing fouls and forcing them to go to the free throw line. So, in this case, that pressure could have a great impact on Shen in this last minute. And it could be really important later in this game. There could be a really interesting finish. The Dutchmen have the potential, they have the energy, they have the skills. So it's going to be really interesting what they can do with that energy in a very tight-knit game like this. The deficit has been reduced to 9 as Shen takes it out underneath. Sangare on the baseline to Merchant. And fouled again by number 2, Dan Albright. And that's his 5th. So Bender comes back in for Albright as he fouls out of the game. So again, a Boston Merchant in line. And so now 10 fouls, so it will be a double bonus. So he sinks his first and his second. Currently, a Boston Merchant has been flawless from the free throw line. And with about a minute to go, Hoffman brings it up the court. Gets it back to Bender. Bender to Hoffman. Hoffman from way downtown. Can't quite get it, but is picked up by Ortel. He loses the ball, and Monroe gets it back up to Hulbert. Hulbert almost escapes, but ends up getting fouled. Fouled on number 24, Ben Ortel. That is his second. And Hulbert ends up going to the line. And so Hulbert, not much experience from the line this season. Only 2 free throws. He's made both of them. And so it's kind of interesting. So far played 4 or 5 games and hasn't been in the free throw line much. And even though he's one of the leading scorers on the team. So as we see, he misses his first. And we'll go for his second. And misses his second, but picked up by number 12, TJ Sangare, and he puts it back in almost too easily for the Plainsmen. Hoffman gets it to Bender. Bender loses it and creates a backcourt violation, and it is back to the Plainsmen. Looks like there's a sub in, number 32, Jake Reinish, back in for the Plainsmen. With about 44, 45 seconds remaining in the game. Hulbert brings it up slowly. He gets it to the wing to Sangare. Sangare up top to Altenberger and back to Hulbert. Hulbert to number 32, Jake Reinish misses the 3. Shen gets the rebound. And Hulbert is going to wind the clock down. So, Dutchmen lose this game 49-36 against the Shenandoah Plainsmen. And so the Dutchmen look to move to 1-4 on the season. and Shen looks to improve to 5-1. And so the Dutchmen have have a rough time this season, but they're hoping to make it back up on Thursday for their next home game. And so that ends the game tonight. The Shenandoah Plainsmen win this one 49-36, and make sure to check all of these games online at GHS Media. And so for all of us here from the Gillen High School Media Department, I am Jason Sidoni, and from all of our members here, we all wish you a good night.